Hello there, and welcome to the Second Life Book Club. My name is Draxtor Dupre. Today on the show, Tracy Sorensen. She has been here before, I think 3 or even 4 years ago. Her second novel is out. It's called The Vitals. It's a cancer memoir, her cancer memoir, where organs become personified, the organs of the peritoneal cavity. I hope I pronounced this correctly. And these organs share their own version when things go south and the tumor by the name of Baby comes in and her babies by the name of Bunny come in. So we have multiple points of view of the advent of this tumor. And I want to start off by getting us into the zone by reading from the very beginning of the book, this chapter one. And the narrator is the stomach, and his name is Gaster. So here we go. My name is Gaster, the stomach, at the center of the assemblage, and I'm a gleeful gorger. The world revolves around me and is laid to waste by me. Once I have ravaged one place, I move on to another, leaving behind nothing but mountains of washing up and great piles of excrement. Fences are erected around whole countries so that everyone knows which part of the world I'm now eating. Before I get close to the bottom of my bowl, a new shipment will come in, grain to make pastries, lambs for the slaughter, dates from palms grown on the other side of the planet. These are sorted and packaged and sent to an army of cooks. A new delivery will arrive just in time. I latched on to the great teat of the world within minutes of birth. I drank from extravagant fountains of milk. If I gave a tiny cry, all mothers would turn towards me, their breasts leaking. They would wait impatiently in line like dairy cows waiting to serve me. They would sigh in relief as I sucked, and I would sigh with pleasure in return. And this double sigh would reverberate gently across the oceans and the continents. Schools were established to teach the skills required to make shipping containers enter ships. Research projects promoted more efficient methods for housing and slaughtering animals. The science of pheromones was developed to outwit the banana weevil. It is for me that coal lobbyists walk up and down the corridors of power, energizing the entire system, keeping the whole show on the road. It is for me that rockets are built to explore outer space, where new worlds might be harnessed to continue my supply once this current world has been eaten. I am thus, clearly, the primary organ of the assemblage. All the other organs evolved to anticipate and serve my needs. Eyes, mouth, nose, arms, and legs became my spies and runners. Over time, I was joined by attendants: liver, pancreas, spleen, intestines. They were drawn to me much as suckerfish are attracted to sharks to clean them of parasites. To coordinate them all, I delegated important tasks to Miss B. This was an early mistake. And that's from Tracy Sorensen's novel, The Vitals, and we will learn who B is. Oh, little teaser, B is the brain. And the brain, Miss B was normal, and then she became kind of arrogant when she moved upstairs. Hello, Tracy Sorensen, aka Squawking Soderstrom.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, you sound
Great,
fantastic. Thank you for
good.
coming.
No worries.
Is this a strange environment for you? I mean, you're a griffin, and virtual worlds are sometimes very strange. Is it strange to be here?
Oh, it's a little bit strange. I don't spend enough time here. I should be up in a gum tree.
But the reason why I'm asking is we just talked, you were born in Second Life in 2008. That's amazing. Usually authors come here, they've never heard of Second Life.
Okay. Yeah, no, I looked in 2008. Spent a little bit of time here.
5 minutes.
Yeah,
And then you logged out and never came back. And then I called you, and then you came with your book, The Lucky
that's right.
Gala. I love The Lucky Gala,
Yeah.
but I love the Vitals as well. It's really, I mean, it's a major accomplishment, and it's so much fun. And people look at me, well, you're reading a cancer memoir, and it is fun. it's very deep. There's a lot in it, but it's also really fun. I don't have a problem saying that something with that is a sort of a severe subject matter um, is fun. And I also learned a lot about anatomy more than all in all of high school. My
That's perfect.
the characters are personified. Rage is the spleen. That's his name in your book, Rage. I love him. He's kind of a lefty, politically
Yeah.
speaking. He wears a beret. He smokes Gauloise. I mean, I don't smoke Gauloise anymore, but I used to. Um, how and
Yeah,
the
he's a little bit like you.
yeah, you modeled him after me. I'm sure. With the,
Yeah.
well, wait a minute, but the spleen goes like what is my purpose? He has a
Yeah,
perpetual existential crisis. Like he's like what am I doing in all of this? Do I have a
that's
purpose?
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's Draxtor with an existential crisis.
I do have an existential crisis. The book was
Right.
called Rage at one point.
It was, yeah, that's true.
So
Yeah.
let me ask you to start this off. How did your relationship to your body change by by writing this book? I mean, I suppose I talked with Shyla yesterday to prepare the program, and obviously this is your memoir. The assemblage that we're talking about is Tracy.
Yeah.
That's you. So your relationship with your body probably changed through with the diagnosis, but then more with
Yeah.
writing the book, or
Mm. Yes, writing the book really took me in there. You know, like for a long time, like when from diagnosis, I was working on crocheted um, body parts. So I did the uterus and the intestine and the various body parts. So I was kind of viewing them a little bit from the outside as if they were soft toys or something like that, little plush toys. But then when I started writing this book, I was suddenly in there, and I was very much taking the point of view of each of the characters. So it became much more intimate.
hmm, we have a big on the big screen we have your crochet. It's really amazing. So you didn't do that. You did a little crochet before, but then you focused on the body parts when the diagnosis hit you.
Well, no, yeah, that's true. I was always doing a little bit of crochet, but it was it was oh yeah, there's the body parts. Yeah, yeah, it was after I was diagnosed that I really got into it, and I also became a lot more interested in anatomical correctness, or at least getting a little bit more like what they actually look like, and
Yeah,
the size. That I'm kind of working on, more or less human-sized organs.
right.
Yeah. So I became much more intimate with the different organs. Yeah.
One of the big
Yeah.
things in the book is this estrangement, what they call the estrangement, when, like I alluded to, when B, the brain, moves
Yeah.
upstairs, and Gaster, who's kind of the boss, then he's all of a sudden, wait a minute, now I got to report to B, what's going on? I was in charge. And the other organs
Yeah.
are kind of like, yeah, that's fine. We need a leader. This is a collective operation. The colon here actually is a big sign that says all ops normal. The colon is very,
Yeah.
very big into shipping, of course, and
Yes.
and when the shipping goes well, then he says all ops normal. But talk a little bit
That's
about
right.
this estrangement. I think that's a real key, and how that relates to you, because that's also something in preparing this the conversation today. It occurred to me most people, or healthy or able-bodied people, probably have an estranged relationship with their body, more or less.
That's right. Yes. Yes, I think so. And I now
Even if they do
consider that I
yoga,
had a yeah.
especially the
Yes, then
yoga
they
people,
solve all their
maybe. Yeah.
problems. Yeah. But I I basically prioritized my brain, but I say my brain in the vitals. I kind of disrupt that idea a bit, obviously, because none of the organs particularly feel like they belong to anyone else. Even Tracy, Tracy is just a venue for their lives.
Right.
So Tracy is actually just an address, really. Um, yeah, but
So meaning there is,
yeah,
are you saying they're just they see themselves as and this is also interesting because the uterus is one of the, I mean the others as well to some extent, they do their job, they know what they have to do in the body, but they also have other aspirations. So I find that aspect also really brilliant because they're workers, they have jobs, but they
yeah,
dream of other things. They want to be artists, and there's a little kind of a rivalry between the uterus, UT or Ute, and Kelly, the gallbladder. They both feel like, they both feel like they have a
yeah,
better artistic or a grasp on what how to define art and things like that. So, but are you saying
mm,
that the organs, they don't really have a relationship to Tracy, right? They're just doing, they do it in a factory.
yeah.
They do their jobs.
But well, that's right. I mean, they go to work and they do their jobs, but for them, that's only a very small percentage of who they are.
Hmm.
Unlike so many other pieces of literature, including the Reader's Digest, that personifies organs. Uh, the Reader's Digest had a series in the 1970s about organs, and each organ spoke about itself. And they
Oh.
were all, yeah, they were all absolutely dedicated to Joe. So they would say, I am Joe's ear, I am Joe's intestine.
Ah. You know
And
what?
they
It's
really identified themselves as, functioning pretty well entirely for Joe. So
ah.
that they had, those ones had no existential crisis. They they knew who they were. They were there to support Joe, and they would get worried about Joe if Joe had any problems or anything got stuck. Whereas these organs in this assemblage, they actually are much more defining their own lives, and they take their work very seriously, but they're not completely defined by their jobs.
That's
Yeah, so
interesting. They
they have a
they
work life balance.
they have yeah, they have a great work-life balance. They are proud of their work, and
Yep.
but they aspire to other things, and especially Ute, who is not, as she learned in organ school, a delivery thing, a thing that
No.
delivers. She doesn't want to deliver. She's just not. No, I'm not going to deliver. I want to ride around the countryside and look at things and experience
Yeah,
nature,
exactly.
and then do artistic things. That's what Ute wants to
That's
do.
right. That's right. She's a little bit like me.
Hmm.
Uh, it's not an autobiography, and she's not directly a portrait of me, but she's similar to me in many respects.
Hmm.
Yeah,
This is
and
interesting. So I did.
she.
No, go ahead.
Well, yeah. I mean, some of the organs take their work more seriously than others. So Cole
Cole.
basically lives for being a colon, and he's completely obsessed by correctly shipping.
Yeah.
So he feels good when he can ship freely and at good intervals,
Yeah.
at reasonable
He
intervals,
has a
and he gets
subscription
really
to
upset.
he has a subscription to Shipping News magazine. This is actually
Yeah.
hilarious because, of course, Shipping News is also a famous book that is in my
Yes.
shelf by what's her name? Annie. Oh my
Annie
God,
Prue.
Annie
Annie
Proulx. There,
Prue.
there you go. And Read and Digest is also, I don't know. You throw that in there as a magazine, I think. But um,
Yeah.
I spoke with a friend yesterday about I told him a little bit about your book, and he said, "Oh, personified organs." And he said, in Fight Club, the movie is of course
Yes.
also a book by Jack Palahniuk, and he says he
Yeah.
recalls that in Fight Club they do that, where he says, "I am Jack's."
Yeah.
I'm
Liver.
Jack's liver. I'm Jill's nipple. I'm Jack's cold sweat. So I guess that Jack Palahniuk
Yeah.
used took that from Reader's Digest, I guess, right?
Yes. Reader's
Poss-
Digest was one of my inspirations. In the 70s, in my small town, we didn't have many books in the house, but we always had my parents' subscription to Reader's Digest, and I would read it from cover to cover.
hmm hmm That's awesome.
So Reader's Digest is really important to me, and it was only much later, like when I was well into writing this book, that um, I spoke to someone else who immediately said Fight Club,
hmm
and then I looked it up. So I wasn't conscious of Fight Club at the time, uh, but yes, so that author, and I'm following along with that author, or we're both we're both trying to we're both tapping into the same well.
Right.
We're
But I
both
mean,
taking our buckets to the same well.
yeah, but he's taking the bucket to the well, but you are actually diving into the well, and you're spending a couple of months in there, and then you come out. So I'm not dissing Jack Palahniuk. I think Fight Club is an important book,
No,
but he just mentions that what you do. I mean, you really create a world where, as we talked before, the organs they have organ meetings on Zoom.
yeah,
And they
yeah,
all have their lives. So I was wondering, how did you come up with this idea that they have these rich lives? And that's never really explained. You do this so brilliantly in the book. I mean, as a reader, it's so smooth to me, and sometimes this can really kind of fail. I think that when you create this
okay,
world, like suspension of disbelief that is required, and here it works so well that you know that these are organs, and they live,
yeah,
they're meat and slime and bile and whatnot. But you describe
yeah,
the cave where they're hanging out, like a man cave kind of thing, where where they
yeah.
party. And I mean, were you confident that this would work? I mean, I'm just saying it
No, I
totally
was
does. Yeah.
No, I was never confident that this would work. For me, writing is always stretching into something that might or might not work. It's always a big risk. So it was only when I started getting feedback from people who felt that it worked for them. So once I knew that it worked for two or three people, I was happy
hmm
because I could see that it possibly does work, and that people are quite willing to surrender to it, to suspend disbelief and go there and be there and relate to the organs as you would relate to characters in a human scale novel.
hmm
Yeah, so I discovered that it worked by doing it, but I was never sure it would work. No.
Did you hear that, kids in the audience? They're not all kids. We have a little. Etheria is a little cat. I'm assuming. No, no. But listen, kids, you just do it, and you take that risk, and all you can do is, well, fail, but you had a good time, and it works. You just have
Yeah,
to put that out there. Here, I put this on the board here. This is an illustration in the book here. Dramatis Personae, all the names. The uterus. Of course, Ute is also a German, a female German name. Um,
yeah,
very common Ute name. Then Pano. Bunny is the tumor's. Well, baby is the first tumor, and then Bunny is
yeah.
her baby.
Mm.
Why were they bunnies?
Well, a lot of this is very Australian and has makes sense to Australians. So rabbits in Australia, they came here with the first fleet. They came on the ships that first arrived to colonise the continent,
Ah,
and then they eventually just ran wild. They just ran across the whole of the continent and inhabited every every corner of it, but there was constant attempts to exterminate them and get rid of them because they would dig holes and livestock, sheep and cattle, would fall into the holes or break their legs. So they were soon discovered to be a big threat. So
Wow.
they multiplied. They did everything really well. They did their jobs really well, but they were considered to have overrun the continent. So cancer and rabbits, I feel, are quite companionable.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, this is a natural process. All cells want to go forth and multiply, but if they do it too much, they are like rabbits, and the sheep and the cattle start breaking their legs in the holes, and they can be quite threatening. So that's where the rabbit metaphor comes from.
Wow, I had no idea. So the colonizers brought that over,
Yeah,
the pest basically. Um,
that's right.
if you're just joining us,
Yeah, there's.
yeah, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, there are incredible photographs. You can probably Google them of the rabbit plague of the 1930s. Uh, Invasive species, yeah. Dead mercury, yes. Yes, they're very much an invasive species. That's right. That's why it's logical that there's a parallel there with cancer.
If you're just joining us, Tracy Sorensen is here, squawking Soderstrom, a Second Life veteran, and her her book is The Vitals, and it's a cancer memoir. But as I learned from you and the Guardian, the cancer came back, but it's a different cancer.
Well, it's the same. It's the same cancer, but it's come back in a different form. So I had a whole lot of chemotherapy last year, which the rabbits, the rabbits in the novel, kind of. That's what they call chemotherapy. They call it myxomatosis,
Hmm.
myxo. So in Australia, we abbreviate everything. So myxomatosis, which is a disease that's deliberately injected into rabbits to try to control them. That myxo and chemotherapy have a parallel. Yeah. There's actually quite a lot to explain to a non-Australian audience. I'm really grateful that you read the book and you understood it and you liked it.
Well, we talked about
Yeah.
this last time with the Lucky Gala, and actually, this is a very important question because people have already asked me, how do I get this book? Because with the Lucky Gala, I remember I was surprised that your publisher decided that this is something that people outside of Australia are not interested in or too stupid. No, but not interested. In these marketing decisions are just completely bizarre to me. Um,
They are. They're very bizarre. Yeah. I mean, the Australianness of my writing is always praised, but I'm never published overseas. I'm never published outside of Australia.
how do we can people message you here in world and they can buy a book from you directly?
Sure. Yeah.
Awesome.
So just send me a message. I'll even I'll put my email address in. Here we go. That's a
Ooh,
little bit more conventional.
yeah. Well, we're not conventional here.
No, you're
Local.
not. That's
Oh,
true. So feel free to message me in World or write to this email address.
like the organs, like the liver
Yeah,
doesn't answer her direct messages in the book because she's too busy,
that's true. That's true.
let alone her
Yeah.
landline. Let me actually read this here before
Yeah.
we go to reading. We pulled this excerpt here. This is this is the character Liv. Uh, the first time the phone rang, I just picked it up and said busy now and hung up. I needed to
Yeah.
focus on the last of my caffeine metabolisms for the day ahead of wine o'clock. Plus, I was looking for
Yeah.
somewhere to stash some extra glucose, and Pano was shouting for insulin. I was feeding out some bile for Kelly, and there were fats to shunt off the adipose tissue. I was feeling like one of those
Yeah.
Hindu gods with many hands, but not quite enough hands.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. She always feels like she has 500 hands, 500 arms, 500 hands, but it's never enough because she's just got so much work to do.
And but Kelly, the gallbladder is helping her. But let me read
Yeah.
this excerpt here. I love this one. Liv lives rent free in my head. This is Kelly speaking now. Is it too much to
Yeah.
ask for a little bit more respect? To not be so taken for granted? Sometimes she orders me around as if I were a thing, not a person. I might be simultaneously foot pedaling some bile, coordinating my work with Pano, and typing up the agenda for the next organ board meeting when Liv will appear at my desk, suddenly looming over me. Scrap that agenda, she'll say. We need a new one. So, like we said, I mean, all these are sort of office dynamics, which is hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. All those sort of scenes uh, rely a lot on my experience in the workplace. Absolutely, yeah. So in some ways, that's probably the best way of thinking about the assemblage of organs. I love the way you use a French accent for that word, assemblage. Uh, yeah,
Well, I'm
I think
cultured
of
European. That's why.
that's right. It's beautiful. It just elevates the vital to the next level for me. But that's probably just part of our cultural cringe here in Australia,
But
where you think if someone says something in a French accent, it's got to be much more special.
yeah, right. No, no,
Yeah.
here it isn't. Uh, but
Yeah.
but are you how are you doing with these treatments now? And this is also something, I
Yeah.
mean, we can go and, but these conversations are very free flowing. But Shaila and I talked about yesterday in preparation for the program, and she has some specific questions around sort of how we in society, how people with this diagnosis are being perceived and how they themselves are supposed to behave. I read a book
Yeah.
last year which really impacted me called Bright-Sided by Barbara Ehrenreich, and it's basically
Oh,
about
yeah.
the sort of positive thinking and
Yeah, it's
always like, oh,
horrible.
it's all fighting and we gotta fight, and she opens the book with
Yeah.
her breast cancer diagnosis, and she was just really totally taken aback by this sort of very, very black and white type of and very normative expectations of how she was supposed to behave as a
Yeah.
cancer patient, right? So talk a little bit about that if you like, and then
Okay.
Shaila's going to ask a question
Yeah.
later.
Oh, yeah. Beware toxic positivity. Who said that?
Yeah.
Faust. Yes. Absolutely, Faust. That's very true. Yeah, I really hate that narrative. I really hate that way of referring to it because, first of all, to be diagnosed with cancer is absolutely terrible. The last thing you feel is positive, and like so you're already feeling really beaten down by this diagnosis and prognosis or whatever, and then people say, yeah, but you've got to be positive, you've got to stay positive. I
Yeah.
mean, even my mother, the music comes from the crabs.
Oh,
Okay, I
no,
can't.
no, people can just turn that off. Don't worry about it. This is just in the sound.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah. The
yeah,
manager
okay.
deals with the
I
book the
felt,
book club manager will deal with it.
yeah, I was so annoyed, but I got it straight away as soon as I was telling friends and family that I had cancer. Almost the first words that came out of people's mouths were "stay positive."
Hmm.
It, nobody said to start with, "Oh, that's terrible news.
Hmm.
Damn, shit."
Hmm.
Like no one just said that ordinary thing, which is like, so this whole
So the ordinary thing, and
exhortation.
let's spell it out. The ordinary thing is empathy, basically. So it's not empathy; it's immediately sort of like jumping to some sort of advice that they
Yeah,
heard on the news or something. I don't know what. Yeah.
absolutely. I got so much of that immediately. that I had to eat this, don't eat that, don't drink. Yeah, the three words ever you have, the three worst words ever, says Deb. Yeah, three worst words you ever going to hear. You have cancer. Absolutely, there's shocking words, and it takes a lot of, like, it takes time to assimilate those words and really write yourself into them, really. But before any of that, people are already telling you to stay positive, do this, do that. Yeah, just heaps of advice, lots and lots of advice. And the last thing you need actually is advice. Well, for me, the last thing I need or want is advice. I just want people to say, "Oh, damn, that's terrible news. Bugger." In Australia, we say bugger a lot. So I'd rather people. I would rather people say, "Oh, bugger," you know. Yeah. So Deb, it sounds like Deb has had cancer or has cancer. Yes,
Deb,
that's right.
if you want to chime in, let me do one follow up here with
Yeah.
Tracy. So what did you um you said what you wanted from people, what you needed from people. People didn't give you that, but then let me ask you, you know, sort of, I don't know if it's devil's advocate or whatever. Like, what's wrong with people saying like, oh, you gotta fight, or stay positive and this and that. Um, what what is the problem here? If this is said to a person who just got the diagnosis, how does this come across? I guess the reason why I'm asking is to let's educate maybe people who may not understand why that is not what what someone else needs, and maybe they don't do it out of malicious intent. Oops, have we lost Tracy?
No, you haven't lost me.
Ah,
I'm waiting for Deb to reply. Do you have anything to say to that, Deb? 5 years survival. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was first diagnosed just over 10 years ago. And then in the middle of last year, 2023, I was re-diagnosed, and it was just precisely the same week as the Vitals was published. I was diagnosed with a recurrence of cancer. So that was a real bugger. That was awful, and it really knocked me for six, as they say. I really just wanted to lie down, and yet I was also feeling like I had to. I also was feeling like I had to go out and promote the novel and just still be an author.
yeah.
And I actually just wanted to lie on the couch. Uh, so the last thing I felt like doing was work and remaining positive and showing up. I just wanted to lie on the couch. Yeah, but anyway, I got through 6 months of chemotherapy, and my publishers kind of gave me a leave pass. I said, I'm not doing anything. I just feel sick, and they were fine with that. Maybe reluctantly fine with that, because it is a bugger. It was a real bugger for them. So in some ways, I thought, oh, maybe this is promoting the book, but in fact, it wasn't. I think it had the opposite effect. But anyway, some people have stayed with me and stayed with it, and I'm still getting a lot of really good feedback about the Vitals. And for me, this is me putting my rage hat on for a minute. You know,
A beret.
um,
It's a beret.
it's a beret.
Or
It's a beret.
beret.
True. It's true. So just imagine this griffin wearing a little red beret with a star on it. So my revolutionary Che Guevara persona is rising to the surface now, and I just think everything. everything. And it's fair enough because we are humans, but we take such a human centric view.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to open that out a bit, um, other sentient beings, some of which might even live inside us. Certainly the gut microbiome, but also all sorts of other things, nerve endings and so on. They're not necessarily thinking from that human-centric point of view.
Hmm.
And these organs, it's quite clear that, Tracy is just an address for them, but
Hmm.
it doesn't define their lives. So it's quite a different way of thinking about oneself. It's quite different to I am Joe's liver, I am Joe's intestine. It's like, I'm, the organs. Only Maureen, the greater or omentum, who's a big sheet of fat.
Oh, that's right. Oh,
That comes.
let me zoom in
Yeah.
here. She is the sheet. She is. Oh yeah. Explain briefly what this organ does, because that I had no
Okay.
idea. Omentum.
No, most people are quite unaware that they have a greater omentum, and this is
Omentum.
actually quite an important organ. And so the greater omentum is like a buffer zone between the you. Oh, your avatar complexity is 78871. You may not be rendered by everyone around you.
You're
Okay,
completely
I'm
rendered.
sorry if my.
Yeah, no, no, no. Ignore. These are the organs of Second Life. They shouldn't talk to the Queen Tracy. They should just do their
Okay,
job. They're not shit. They're not good shippers.
yeah,
They're
they
sent.
just want to do a commentary. Yeah,
Yeah, these are middle managers. They should be fired, Tracy. I mean,
yeah,
unbelievable.
yeah, yeah,
They're bothering you at this
yeah,
junction when you're talking about the great momentum.
yeah.
And they're bothering you with complexity issues. God.
That's right. So I'll just ignore that. So yeah, the greater omentum. Everyone's got one, unless there's something really bad or you've had it removed. So a lot of people don't ever consider it important, but women who get ovarian cancer, someone starts talking about their greater omentum fairly quickly. So with women with ovarian cancer, it's removed. Generally, there's surgery and you remove it because it's a place. It's such a nurturing environment. And Maureen, if you read the book, is a
Hmm.
very nurturing person, and so it's a beautiful, nurturing environment. And rabbits tend to love it and go there and snuggle down into the fat of the greater omentum. And yeah, it's kind of dangerous to the assemblage,
Hmm.
assemblage,
Hmm. Hmm.
because uh, it's a real point where rabbits can spread and become invasive. So often your doctor wants to get rid of the greater omentum as quickly as possible.
The greater and the
Yeah,
lesser
but basically,
omentum. Yeah.
yeah, if you just imagine a sheet, just a lumpy sheet, it's lumpy because there's fat nodules. So it's just a sheet of nodules of fat, really.
Shyla, you want to
Okay.
ask a question? Let me say one quick thing, and you said it because um, Maureen is just a quick one on these bunnies, because what's interesting is how you describe it in the book. I really think that's very powerful. The bunnies and even baby, the very manipulative, like a manipulative girlfriend. I mean,
Yeah,
she's a female character, so she's a girlfriend, could be a boyfriend, doesn't matter. In this case, it's a female, and manipulative, conniving, toxic, everything, and the bunnies, but they do what they need to do. I mean, you talked about it too, but in the book, you're very consistent with that. It's just a very
yeah,
sort of neutral, objective observation. They're not some
yes.
cartoonish evil entities that
No,
that that come in there. They do what they have to do, and yeah, it's creepy. Actually, I love the tone when it gets like really creepy when baby starts impersonating the voice of of Pano, and then the bunnies come in, and I have fear of bunnies. Maybe
Yeah.
because of the Donnie Darko movie, who knows? But the point is, I think what you're doing brilliantly again is not to paint these invaders as these cartoon villains that need to be destroyed. They're just doing
Evil.
yeah, they're doing what they're doing.
That's right. And all living things just do what they're doing. Cockroaches feed
Yeah,
their babies and take them to school, all that stuff. We're all just doing what we need to do to promote our own lives and the lives of our family and friends. And very much so, the organs are in that place. So it is a counter narrative to the struggle and struggle metaphor, the battle metaphor.
struggle,
Uh,
battle, war. It's a war. Everything is a war. Yeah.
that's right. I'm so sick of that language. And then in Australia, in particular, I don't know about overseas, but if someone dies of cancer after being treated for 10 years or 16 years or whatever, it's announced as so and so has
Lost
lost their battle.
lost their battle. That's
Lost their
universal.
battle.
It's all over the world. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas if someone has multiple sclerosis or Parkinson's, that language isn't there. So it's very connected to cancer in particular. So it's like people immediately switch into this narrative, and it's actually quite a burden. It isn't all that helpful because you're already feeling ill,
Yep.
and then everyone around you is saying battle, battle, war, war, fight, fight. They want you in Fight Club. They
Yep.
want to stand back and watch you battle it out. And you might want to just lie on the couch.
Absolutely.
Right.
That's well put. Shyla, now please, your question.
Well, I do think humans and animals and everything living do what they do, and I have a condition. It's not terminal, but a lot of people like to give me advice too, so I related to that. But one of the things I also found was I have changed the way I communicate with other people
Yeah,
because sometimes if they really know how I feel, it's like too much and they disappear. And
Hmm.
I'm wondering,
yeah.
in your experience, how did you feel and what was it? Was there a change and what was that like? If so?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the people who really came on strong with the battle metaphor, or even just hints and tips about diet and exercise, all that kind of stuff. Um, I didn't want to. I mean, I can get all that information from Google very quickly, and in fact did. So I don't feel as though I don't have enough information. I have heaps of information, and really, I guess all I'm looking for is sympathy,
Hmm.
or even just people to take the information on, and not necessarily. People always think they've got to say something or be profound about it, and it's
Hmm.
like, well, maybe not. Maybe they don't know enough about it. Um, anyway, yeah. So for me, it doesn't feel helpful to be to get this onslaught of advice from people who often really don't know much about it. I mean, when you do have a serious cancer diagnosis, it can become your life. Not everybody, but it can be like that. So the idea that you have an information deficit and need to be filled up with info is it can be quite irritating. So Shyla, what do you say to people? How have you changed that?
Well, some people I just don't tell.
Yeah,
Um, and I just avoid talking about it because, yeah, I feel like sometimes in this battle language, which is not a part of my condition, I feel like it serves to blame
yes,
if you don't win the
Hmm.
battle.
If you don't win the battle,
And
you're a
that,
absolutely.
bad general. Hmm.
You're
Yeah, you're
bachelor,
bad.
and also that you always, like you were conveying, you always have to work hard, and if you're not doing enough. You aren't
That's
trying.
right. Yeah, I know. It immediately adds to the burden of illness.
Mhm.
It doesn't help necessarily. Yeah.
Um, Roxy here on YouTube says, I relate to it with my MS, being encouraged to fight it. I took a lot of the info to heart, but after 8 years, I still wish someone wouldn't go. I have a friend with that. I hope you're okay, and just value
Mm,
me as a person. But Jill, just
that's right.
I also hear you guys just what you said. I mean, it's really just sort of being able to listen and deal with that. And what I hear is when people withdraw, like Shyla was saying, they can't cope with that. They don't want to be reminded. This is what I'm thinking as an able-bodied person who works with people with disabilities with
Yeah.
my documentary work. What I feel is most people don't want to be reminded of their mortality. And case in point, I used to go to the public pool with when I was in music college with a friend, a very talented composer, and
Yeah.
we used to go to in the morning, and were a lot of retired people, older people, and I remember Andy was saying like, "Oh, I can't go in. There was too many old people." And I was like, "Dude,
Oh,
what is your problem?" But I understand, and I don't want to make light of it. Fact of the matter was, he didn't want to be reminded that he
yeah.
will be old. He didn't want to be exposed to old people, and that's
Yeah.
as simple as it was.
Yeah.
Frail
That's
old
very
skin, you know.
Yeah. And if you tell people, if you're a relatively young person and you tell them you have a mortal illness, they almost feel offended by
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
It's not how things should be.
That's
And,
not how the world, exactly. That's not how it should be.
yeah,
Oh, this doesn't compute. Wait a minute. You're 40
yeah,
years old? Oh my God.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Um, should we read
Uh,
something? Shyla, go ahead. And also Deb, just jump in if you wanna tell us your story or comment on what's being said. But Shyla, go ahead.
well, we've talked about that to me, kind of like people maybe we are not close to. But one of the other things, and I don't know if you have this in your situation, is parents,
Hmm.
right? That we are supposed to outlive our parents. And I do find, like
Yeah.
with my parents, my dad, I don't always tell him what's going on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's really upsetting. And that I get a little bit more. Was that true
Yeah.
for you?
It's very true for me. I've been quite Spartan with the information that I give to my mother, and always have been. And yeah, I can just tell that she almost can't tolerate it, can't bear it.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and so I kind of massage the information a little bit. Uh, yeah, but really, that again, I feel a little bit burdened by that. I understand it, but it is yet another burden. Like not only do you need to manage this whole experience for yourself, but
Yeah.
you've got to manage other people's reactions. And I've had people just break down and cry in front of me, and it's like, well, I understand that, yes, but it's not helpful. So if you could possibly avoid breaking down and crying, that would be useful. But yeah, I mean, I understand that for some people it's an overwhelming piece of information that they don't want to hear, and that they start to cry. Yeah, but I'm not terminally ill. It's just that it's a very serious illness, so it could at any point just go downhill, and the bunnies could just uh, you know run all over the place and take me out. So yeah, so there's a threat to my existence.
Hmm.
But yeah, having people immediately assume the worst isn't all that helpful either. Although it's in some ways it's a more more emotional and connecting response than simply saying fight, fight, battle, battle, or you go, girl, or you got this.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
like the
This is
oh,
terrible.
absolutely.
People say
It's
that?
awful.
Oh
Of
my
course
God.
they do.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Who's speaking? Is that Deb?
That's me.
Yeah, Deb.
That's me, the
You got
Deb.
this, girl. Go right ahead.
Oh, please don't even go there. No. I mean, I've got that even from nurses,
Wow.
doctors,
Yeah.
patting me on the back and saying, oh, you can be strong through this. You can be strong. Well,
Yes.
hello. I was in the hospital back and forth for 3 months because one of them forgot to put in one little stitch after my mastectomy, and it got infected.
Oh God. Oh dear. But they asked you to be strong. My God. Yeah.
And they asked me to be strong. So you know what I did? I went into their office and I told them, you see this little leakage? Do me
Yeah.
a favor, grab a needle right now and sew it.
Yes. Yes.
I'm already numb. You don't need to put anything on it. And if you won't do it, I will.
Yeah. 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 Very
I
good.
did it myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did it myself.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good on you.
And
Yeah.
you
Did that
have
fix
to.
it? Yeah.
And
So-
I know
Yeah.
you from before. I know you from before.
Okay.
Oh, Deb, you do from Second Life, from the 2008 era, which was one of the best years, best vintage. Actually, 2007 because I was born, but I digress.
I had just come on at the end of 2008, beginning of 2009, and I pretty much remember somebody very similar to you.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I
was
still
there.
think you're awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
What a small world. This is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to sub out under a whole different name. I went by my ex's last name in Second Life back then. Now
Yeah.
you see why I changed it to Mercury.
Yeah.
But I think I know you from before. I mean, you seem very, very similar. If not, we are cancer survivor sisters.
Yes. Yes. We are at least that. Yeah.
It is a sisterhood.
Yes.
I can't say it enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
The support. So this is really fascinating because Deb also then talks about sort of the battle that you have to fight with the medical system. What you write in the afterword is it, or in the forward in the acknowledgement, is that the healthcare, and I'm not familiar with the healthcare system in Australia, but it was pretty good because that's another burden primarily in the US. But talk a little bit about uh about the treatment and those kind of things, because we all know how bad it is in the US, and then you have this, and then you still have to deal with GoFundMe essentially. I mean, I'm not trying to make fun of it, but it's absolutely
Yeah.
it's tragic. You didn't have
Yeah.
to do that, I suppose.
Never. No.
Nor did I, actually.
Hmm.
My surgeries and everything were paid for. It was just the attitude of these doctors wanting to be, so think positive. And
Yeah,
as
there we
you were
go again.
saying,
The toxic positivity. Yeah. Go ahead.
extremely toxic positivity, and I was surrounded by it. And all I wanted to do was lock myself in a room and listen to Mongolian throat singing
Oh,
for
Beautiful.
3 months
Yeah.
straight, and that's what got me through.
wow.
Beautiful.
That
Really.
is
Mongolia.
beautiful. I'm a little disappointed that you didn't listen to Frank Zappa, the mid '70s era or whatever era, but Mongolian throat singing is cool.
You think they don't have a Frank Zappa in Mongolia?
Actually, he had some people from Mongolia over shortly before he passed away. There's footage, but I don't want to get completely off the subject. No, this is
we,
amazing.
we better stop it.
The,
We better stop it, Drax.
this
You
is
know
real.
how it is.
Yeah, and this fascinating this whole um all these fronts that you have to deal with your folks who are crying, people
Mm,
who say you go girl, then the medical establishment, and as Deb just mentioned, specifically doctors who probably see this as their battle, right? Because they're going to be seen as losers if they don't win the fight too, I guess. I mean, that's how
true.
they're trained, essentially.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think it's true. Yes.
let's change the pace to something fun. Let's read a little bit. Tracy, are you up for reading a little bit from
I am.
uh, Ute? So wait a minute, is it Ute or Ute?
It's just Ute. In Australia, the
What is a
Ute.
Ute?
You've
Explain. It's where I'm
it's
sitting
a
on it.
yeah. It's a utility vehicle, and in the 1930s, I think the car was adapted from ordinary-looking Ford trucks and those sorts of things,
Hmm.
specifically for Australian conditions and pickups. That's right. It's a pickup truck. Yeah, you throw things in the back of the Ute,
What are the
and certainly,
Australian conditions? I was waiting for this to push out my stereotypical thing, like carry a lot of 12 packs in the back. Is that the Australian condition?
yes,
Lots of
yes.
booze.
Yeah, lots of booze. That's right, a ranchero. Yes, all those things. It's absolutely true. It's just a pickup truck, and they used to be quite small when I was a kid. A Ute was quite a modest vehicle,
Hmm.
and a 6 pack of stubbies. Yeah, and in mint condition. True. Yeah, the Ute was very ubiquitous in Australia. I think because people felt it was just perfect for, you could switch from having your beer on the beach, or you could be in the backyard, whatever, and
Yeah.
so you can. It's highly transportable,
Yeah, yeah,
and the
it's
other
shifting
thing that
the place of consumption. Really, that's kind of the
yes,
the mobility thing here to switch it up a little bit. It's the same beer, but it's a different setting.
absolutely, yeah. And then in the 1970s, there were a lot of men in particular who would measure the length of a journey. Yeah, Portabar, measure the length of their journey by how many stubbies they needed to drink to
Oh,
get there. So, if it was 200 miles or kilometres, then that would be so many stubbies. Yeah, terrible, terrible combination because, of course, that's
drink and
drink
drive.
driving, drunk.
I mean,
Yeah,
I have to say this because as a Bavarian, I really every time I'm throwing out one of these stereotypes about Australia, what I actually want is somebody to dispel these stereotypes and say this is not true, and then give me evidence. But what happens frequently is that I throw out these stereotypes, and an Australian is confirming them and adding even more disturbing information, like you just did.
yeah, yeah. I'm
Ah,
sorry.
beautiful.
Yeah, no. I mean, all these stereotypes. There's a huge that there's a huge. Remember, Drax. Australia has these road trains. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Bunny McLeod is leaving. Okay. Bye, Bunny. Thanks for coming. Yeah. Yeah, so the stereotypes are true, but there's also rage in Australia, and Ute, the feminist,
Yeah, right.
Kelly, the gallbladder. So there are other characters, but that kind of hard living Aussie drunken bloke is very much a part of the
Yeah,
world as well.
absolutely,
Most
absolutely. I mean,
of us Aussies ride kangaroos. Yes, very
is
true.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Who said that? Is that true? Is that confirmed? They ride kangaroos?
Yeah, yeah. Nobody rides them. They're
Ah,
not. They're not very. They're not strong enough,
ah. Okay, okay.
or they're not tame enough. They're not. They're not compliant enough.
Okay. Well, we have solved. I mean, stereotypes are very, very, very handy because we don't want to be too nuanced. It's too difficult. Nuance,
Yeah,
not good. It's just too much work on the old brain. Well, we could
yeah,
cut down a few stubbies in the meantime,
yeah.
right? I
Yes,
mean,
that's
you
right.
gotta like prioritize. That's really what life is all
Yeah, yeah,
about.
yeah.
Okay, so let me see here. Let's make this a little bigger here, the display. And if you would please, Tracy, read the excerpt that I sent you. This is the chapter of Ute, where Ute is, I think this is her first chapter where she's first introduced. And let me also again tell folks, I'll push out Tracy's email in a little bit to remind people, please order the book directly from her because it's not distributed outside of Australia, and it is really, really amazing. I think I'm gonna order it for Dr. Robert Lustig, who is a
Oh, that's the
the sugar guy.
plastinated, the plastinated bodies.
No, 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 no. Dr. Lustig wrote a book called Fat Chance about sugar, and and his latest book is called Metabolical.
Oh,
He would love this book, but he's done research on sugar and hidden sugars and just fantastic work. He's a pediatrician. Um,
okay.
but yeah, so let's hear from Ute.
Okay. Hey, can you just tell me a couple of words that are in the section that you want me to read? Because I'm just using a PDF at the
Oh,
moment.
yeah. Okay, so it starts with you probably think of me.
You probably think of me.
You
Yeah.
probably think of
Yeah.
me.
I, yeah. 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 Okay. You
And wait,
probably think of.
and then the out is where do I have the out? Oh yeah, artificial cherry is the out.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'll start reading now. You probably think of me as an upside down pear with two raised arms, a football in each hand. This is reasonable. It captures my basic features. But I like to think of myself as a ute, the colloquial name for an Australian utility vehicle. Think of a dirty white vehicle with two kelpies riding on the back, barking and quivering, the wind riffling their fur. I just want to put in brackets here, Drax, that
Yeah.
you visualized the kelpies as horses, which is quite reasonable. If you Google kelpie, the other interpretation is a horse. So I think it's part of Celtic mythology or
Yeah, I
whatever.
thought they're
But
like water horses was I was getting. And then um yeah.
yeah, but the way I imagine them is two kelpies. If you think of the dogs, the sheep dogs with a spot over each eye,
Ah yeah.
that kind of kelpie. Anyway, two kelpies riding on the back, barking and quivering, the wind riffling their fur. Or an older model ute with a big deep tray upon which stands a single cow with a swinging udder juddering along a corrugated road. The cow leans forward to lick the salty sweat off the driver's neck through the glassless rear window. Or an older model still, in the style of a horseless carriage with a wide running board piled high in the back with giant pumpkins, Queensland blues. These are a type of pumpkin. A lot of German people came to Australia and grew these pumpkins. This
Hmm.
is just in brackets. The horseless carriage pulls up at the front door in a cloud of dust. A voice wafts out from the dark interior of the house. No, I can't bear to look at another pumpkin. This is actually part of my family's story in more brackets. I should just read, but I
No,
can't
no, no. Go
help
ahead.
but.
No,
And
context is good. So your parents
yeah,
were pumpkin farmers from Germany? No.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
My mother's side of the family was, yeah. A ute is designed to carry, and I too am designed to carry. During organogenesis, I budded out of the gonadal ridge as a tiny light blue E.H. Holden ute with a neat black tarpaulin for covering my loads. I had a tiny movable tailgate and two attendant kelpies. Back then, the dogs mostly slept, unaware of sheep or red dirt or windmills. All that was in the future. They'd shift and twitch adorably in their sleep. I'd reach out my fallopian arms and touch their hairless skin, watch it ripple in response. When the puppies began growing a little hair, it was time for me to start at organ school. The dogs slept under my desk, and I'd join them there for afternoon naps. In class, I'd produce intricate decorations in the margins of my exercise books. I was told to pay attention, to stop doodling. My teachers were not sure what to make of me. I had to do mothercraft classes. This is all true, by the way, in brackets. And a subject called grooming and deportment,
What I
in which
mean,
I'd
what do you
have
mean?
to.
What is true? You had to do mothercraft. You had to do mothercraft classes too.
Yes,
So
yes,
yeah, again,
and
let's remind folks that youth. I mean, youth is probably closest to you in character, in kind of like temperament, I would
yeah,
say, right? Hmm.
yeah, very, very similar. Yeah, I had to do mothercraft classes and a
What's
subject called
mothercraft?
grooming and deportment, in which I'd have to walk upright with a book on my head, being careful not to slouch. I'd try to play along, but I could not help rolling my eyes at the pointlessness of it. But I loved art and craft. I loved wax crayons, clag paste, and cutting out. I loved my coloured pencils, although it was hard to keep track of them. As I was leaving class one day, I saw dark blue under a chair and wondered vaguely if it was mine. I knew I should go and retrieve it, but I couldn't be bothered. This is all very autobiographical in brackets. The Kelpies
Wait,
were
are you
already
reading? I'm reading along. No, no, you're just ad-libbing now. This is fantastic.
The Kelpies were already lunging for the door. I scooted off with them. We drove out into the paddocks, and I let them ride the tray without chains, as if they were surfing. I'd glance at them. I'm not ad-libbing, I'm reading a
Hmm.
manuscript here. Maybe I've got the wrong version. I'd glance at them in the rear vision mirror, and our eyes would meet. They were happy, their tongues lolling. My ancient DNA teacher was obsessed with reproduction. She kept returning to the theme, throwing me exasperated looks I found hard to decipher. The classroom is as silent, with only the sound of industrious scritchings across the blackboard. Tiny streams of chalk dust fall to the ledge and duster below. The board fills with diagrams, graphs, arrows. Follicular phase, luteal phase. I'm a ute, but for now I must just be a good little schoolgirl paying attention. I must wear my hair in two brown plaits tied off with green plastic bobbles. I sit at my desk with its inkwell and hinged lid. I sit on my fallopian arms to stop myself from doodling. When the teacher turns her back, I quietly lift the hinged lid of my desk, hopefully, as if I might find something to relieve my bored despair. Inside, lined pads, ruler, pencils, the Happy Venture reader. No, there is nothing interesting. I quietly lower the lid. I gaze out of the big windows that run down the side of the room, the tops of gum trees, sky. Out there somewhere, I might find my true home, red dirt, acacia shrubs, windmills, dirty sheep. The teacher grabs me by the scruff of the neck, forces me to look at her. She is thin and coiled with a long, flickering tongue. What's that? She shrieks, pointing at the doodle I've made. The doodle has spilled from the margin into the page proper. A spark plug, I whisper. Speak up. It's a spark plug, I say, too loud this time. The class titters. So what, pray tell, is a spark plug? Asks the teacher, for the amusement of the rest of the class. Liv at the next desk has drawn a beautiful diagram, neatly labelled with the words follicular and luteal. She shoots me a sympathetic look. I don't know, I say. It's something to do with ignition. For a split second, the teacher seems confused by the word ignition. Then she scowls. So it's something you've just made up? I'm not sure about that. The spark plug feels real to me. I feel I might have seen one, but I nod my head meekly. Never forget you're a vessel, she spits. Your first duty is to carry, not to fabulate. Then she lets me go, and I run out of the room and keep running over the white lines of the handball courts, around behind the girls' toilets. There is no one there, mercifully. I crouch down at the spot where crumbling cement gives way to yellow-brown gravel and find a bubble gum wrapper, all scrunched up. I open it out over my knee, smooth the small waxy square. Bazooka artificial cherry. It is just the wrapper, not the gum. But the wrapper is a thing in itself. It does not need the gum. I am not a vessel, I say to myself. Consolation forever will smell like artificial cherry. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Tracy. This is Tracy Sorensen reading from The Vitalist. So brilliant. And again, a reminder, this is Yute's experience, but she is the uterus. And she is a
Yeah,
vessel. She's a delivery vessel. And like I said earlier, I find it so brilliant that you chose to, ha they have full lives. And those lives are lived in yeah, fully described with countryside, but but they are in a body.
yes. And that's to me, the parallels are, oh yeah, usually the kelpies are seals, says Stranger Nightfire. That's so true. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, that's true. So the Australian kelpie is definitely a dog. Yeah, yeah. The organs live in a world, just as I live in a world. But at the moment, I'm not driving through red dust next
Hmm.
to windmills, but that's always with me, that sense of a world.
Hmm.
I have my own sense of the world, my
Hmm.
world. And I think that's true of all of us. Organs, cockroaches, everybody has
And
a
the
sense of
and that's
what
the
their world.
approach. Yeah, I now I, under, so that's the approach you took. They have that world in their own head. They experience the world differently. I mean, if a banana were thinking, I mean, I look at a banana as a banana. I don't know why I come up with a banana, but I just ate one earlier. Maybe the
Yeah,
banana's world makes total sense for the banana, right? And they experience freedom by walking in fields too, or I mean, the fields are fields in their interpretation of what a field is, but not like I don't know. I can't express it.
yeah, no, you're right.
It's
You're right. The field for that banana is kind of a line of flight, which is a
mhm.
Deleuzian idea. But it's how you imagine your world. Yeah,
I should spend more time with Rage in his cave, but he's no longer, and he smokes too many guluas. Okay, we have about this is just amazing. We have 15 minutes left. If people have questions, please shoot. There is so much that I have here on my sheet, so let me get organized. What I find beautiful towards the end, the estrangement between the queen bee or the bee, the brain, and the organs. They get together. They have a little party. They've been to the hospital. The assemblage. Tracy has been to the hospital, but
mm,
they're somewhat celebrating. And Queen Bee um, has written a poem that she reads, and this is the
yeah,
poem, very short, and B reads this poem. The first place is this body made up of the descendants of ancient bacteria, fish parts. This temple made of fish parts. And then there's a little awkward pause in that party where people are like, yeah, that's kind of a weird poem. but it's a brilliant poem. And again, this goes back to what you said earlier about the our viewpoint of humans at the center,
Yes,
which can be very
yes,
problematic, or I mean, or limiting, or problem, or challenging, especially when illness
yeah.
arrives.
Illness, and climate change and
Yeah.
ecological destruction, because we tend as humans to discount the experiences of non-human others. You know, we forget that we're part of a team. We
Yeah.
forget the members of our own team.
Shyla pulled this quote from the Guardian article. You said, "The only thing I can do is to keep being incredibly philosophical. We all get a narrow band in history. That's our spot, so we come into it and go out of it in ways that we absolutely can't control. I'm just here for the ride in between." Again, this is about the issue of mortality. I've
Yeah.
been touched with mortality at an early age. People know my mother passed away when I was very young, and that
Ooh.
will that forms your outlook and your personality over time. Um, so I don't know
Yeah.
why I'm saying this. I guess I'm trying to say that I feel my uh, I would argue that I live life fuller than someone who is, and again, this sounds very judgmental. I'm not judging. I'm just saying that I feel I have given, in a weird way, a gift by this horrible thing that happened to me or not to me, to everybody. My dad, I mean, his wife died when he was young. And for my grandmother, who wrote in her diary, "Oh, this is not the way things are supposed to be. I'm burying my own child," and things like that. But
Yeah.
now, 35 years later, I think it's a strange gift that gave me incredible um, strength. I wouldn't call it resilience, but just the a very very different um, view on mortality specifically. And I don't know if I
Yeah.
want to say I'm appreciating life more, whatever. I don't want to simplify that. I could go into nuance, but this is not about me. This is about you. So how do you
Mm.
feel about the relationship? We talked a little bit about it, but the relationship with us as a person and an illness that comes along.
Yeah. I think one way of thinking about it, which is completely understandable, is your grandmother's sense that of
Yeah,
the wrongness of possibly dying before one's parents. But then the other thing that strikes me in the face of mortal illness uh, is um, is the preciousness of life, how extraordinary life is, and so I think you can just encompass both at the same time. They're both. It's all true.
yeah. And I also don't want to conflate my experience with a grave illness that afflicts is afflicting you or others, because I just want to make that clear. I find it equally appalling to what we talked about earlier when somebody from the outside says, "Oh, this illness is a gift to you." No, it's not.
Oh yeah,
It fucking sucks. So because that's
yeah, yeah,
also what people in my documentary work, people with disabilities told me that they also experience it when somebody says that, "Oh, it's a gift, then you learn how to appreciate this more," or I don't know, yeah, you're sitting in a
yeah,
wheelchair but then your eyes get sharper or shit like that. I mean, it's completely bizarre. So I just want to
yeah,
make clear that I am fully aware that my personal experience with this tragic event is not comparable to somebody of dealing with a grave illness. So
yeah, yeah. That's right. It can suck. It sucks
it
on the one
sucks.
hand, and you would wish it on anyone, and then on another on at the same time, knowing that life is short and feels short, uh, does take you to another place, that can be interesting. And for me, it's always about, okay, how much time have I got? Can I write another novel? Can I keep doing this thing? So it focuses my mind.
The focus, that is interesting. That's something that I can completely relate to. You feel, and there's a certain pressure, and it's not always pleasant. But and I think when you're artistically inclined, like you just said, can I write another novel? Do I have that energy in me? Do I have the time? And you see this with other great artists. I mean, I'm a big Zappa fan, of course, and he was diagnosed. After he was diagnosed, I think it was very quick, maybe 2 years. But a workaholic like Zappa, I mean, he was working like a madman, and it was very hard for him. He passed at 53.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hard. Yeah, but it would have focused his mind too. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of art, I don't know where I got this from, but actually I do. It's from Substack, this other thing that I'm on now, god damn it. But here's a Kurt Vonnegut quote, because you mentioned art, and this is all about expressing ourselves, and this is a continuous discussion here on the book club and elsewhere. And Kurt Vonnegut, I want to read this, I put it on the board. Kurt Vonnegut quote: "Go into the arts. I'm not kidding. The arts are not a way to make a living. They are a very human way of making life more bearable. Practicing an art, no matter how well or badly, is a way to make your soul grow, for heaven's sake. Sing in the shower, dance to the radio, tell stories, write a poem to a friend, even a lousy poem. Do it as well as you possibly can. You will get an enormous reward. You will have created something." I think this is just so beautiful. And since you're here, talk about the importance of art for you. I mean, again, the crochet is just it's mind-boggling. It's awesome. I mean, your novels are great, but the crochet. I mean, I could, if you don't write another novel, I could live with those two and the crochet as a fan. But anyway, the importance of art for you.
Yeah, it's as important for me as it is as Kurt Vonnegut suggests. It is its own reward. So even if no one else reads it or consumes it or sees it, it's the thing that sustains me. The idea of, like, let me do this again, or let me try this again, or let me experiment. It's kind of what keeps me alive, way more than the various hints and tips that I get from the world. Everyone immediately assumes that one's only concern is to live as long as possible, and that's not entirely correct. Maybe for me, it's about what can I do? Are there any possibilities left?
That is such a good point, because what drives me nuts, and I'm looking at the clock so that I don't go completely off a tangent, but what you say, the living forever. This is something, there is frankly a cultish. Well, it's not cultish. It is a cult within some circles of the tech bro industry, and it's a bro industry. Let's be honest. And transhumanism and living forever, and we have a lot of leaders of enormous power who are very vocal about that being their ultimate goal. And I'm always like, I don't know about if it's that kind of quality, or what they think quality is, which is essentially, I don't know, just consuming luxury goods all day. I don't know what kind of life is that. Why does that life have to be forever? That's pretty sad. So
that doesn't inspire me. I don't feel I don't feel that makes me want to live. What makes me want to live is art, doing art, and seeing other people's art. So it's like, how the hell do we do this thing, this life? How do we do it? For me, it's about, I do it via art, And I really appreciate others' art because that's how we do it. Yes,
Roxy
it's
saying
one
dance
way of
like a
doing it.
monkey. No one's much. Oh, Roxy is putting part of the quote here um, in the chat, and we have this big fish, your crochet fish, uh, on the big screen. And here is your crochet mount Pangay 29, which is amazing. We got that off your Flickr page. Look at this,
Oh yeah,
amazing.
yeah. Let me have a look.
You're the
Not that
crochet
way.
Hundertwasser. It's very
Oh,
Wasserian, I guess.
yeah. Sorry, I've just started walking around. I didn't mean to do that.
No,
Sorry.
please,
Sorry.
please walk around. Can you see your
uh,
art?
no, I'm looking for it. I better go back to my chair.
It's just wonderful, this gate. Okay, I'm going to have to say goodbye, but I need to remind folks, we're gonna wrap the show. I have to remind, and again, Tracy, big thank you, Tracy, because Tracy woke up very, very early today to come here to us and speak with us. Please, big round
Yeah.
of applause, big round of appreciation. Um, just wonderful. And the novel is The Vitals, and you can direct message Tracy, or you can email her because this novel is not distributed outside of Australia, which is a real shame. I'm gonna call Picador tomorrow, here from Germany, and say that I, as a Bavarian, completely understand the plot. And
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna just tell Picador, I of average intelligence Bavarian understand it, so why not distribute it?
Oh,
Yeah.
wonderful.
So, oh, I hear a Ute in the background. It's already racing. I hear sounds. Shadow
Yeah, I
lives.
hear sound.
Here is a panda who lives in Australia. Shadow lives in Australia. So Shadow, you gotta buy 5 books and send them to us in Europe and elsewhere, wherever we are. Um, Let me wrap the program. Thank you, Tracy. Squawking Soda Stream. Please befriend Tracy if you like, and Tracy, don't feel obligated to reply. I'm just saying I want to connect people. Thank you, audience here in world and on YouTube as well. If you like to support what we do, please go to kofi.com/Draxter, or throw your loose linden shekels here into the tip jar. The tip jar is right here on the back of the Ute, and that goes all to Shyla, who does so much um, prep work with me, and we have these great conversations about the work. Is just wonderful. Um, the show is sponsored, and I have to look for my sponsorship slide, by the Black Forest. Um, Now where is it? I can't find it. Ah, well. Um, the Second Life Book Club happens every. Oh, I heard a cha-ching sound. Happens every Wednesday or every other Wednesday. Here's our sponsorship list. These are not all of our sponsors. Bad Unicorn, Bespoke, Blueberry Creatures. Oh, this is an older slide. I wish we were still sponsored by them. Um, the next show is on June the 26th, and on June the 26th we have our informal talk about Infinite Jest. If you don't know what Infinite Jest is, I feel sorry for you. It's a very, very easy novel with not a lot of characters. Okay, who am I kidding? Here's the flow chart. Um, Here is the flow chart of some of the characters and how they're related. But if you're curious about the book, or if you're reading it, or if you abandoned it and you have to get back into it in order to live a fulfilling life, then come on June the 26th. But in the meantime, um, contact Tracy, or go to her website, and or contact me. I'll hand out her email, and she'll ship you a book. And maybe you should also order the Lucky Gala, which is lying here on the floor. The Lucky Gala is also really wonderful. Thank you, Tracy, and have a good day, or maybe a good nice nap should be in order as well.
Thank you. Thank you. This has been a lovely chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Really, really wonderful. And goodbye.
We're all thrown into it, one way or the other. We all try to steer it as straight as we can. Sometimes we collide with each other. Who is to blame? And who's gonna fix the boat? Life, oh life, there's nothing to fear from your life. Let me know if I can be of any help. Life, you and I, let's try a fresh start today. What do you say? Let's close the door on the past. So we swim, and it is in so many ways just a little trick to keep our heads above water. But now I'm not afraid anymore. Life